when you're starting your home service or any company, getting those first customers, getting those first believers that will actually write you a check, pay you American money to build or fix or fill in the blank, that comes down. I mean, I remember writing all my stuff on the carbon copy. I'm sitting down, putting the bid down on carbon copy, 3 sheets. There's your pink, here's my white, and here's the yellow one for finance, right? And taking that, even in its, when you're using a fax machine, I'm definitely dating myself, but like when you're using that old technology, but the fundamentals are transferable.
On this week's show, are you capturing reality with James Hatfield from LiveSwitch? All right, Nathan, we're back. We're on the microphones again. Seems like I saw you the other day, and I'm hoping, can't wait to see you again real soon.
Ah, man, but I will say we went an entire season and did not get a ski day in together, I think. I
Did
can't
we
believe
have
it.
no ski
Yeah,
days?
yeah, you had your maintenance issues, mechanical issues. You had all kinds of issues this winter. What's wrong with you, man?
Hey, man, adulting is not fun sometimes, but listen, supporting your local HVAC and also being beholden to them because they fix your heat on the coldest day of the year, which by the way kept me from freezing. Yes, I don't believe, but it's not over yet. We still have a month. Maybe we can catch a day.
Maybe.
A Basin's going to be open for a while, so we can always go up there. But we digress. James
I am
Hatfield,
great. Thank you for having me,
how are you,
guys. I'm looking
man?
forward to this.
James is on a run of getting on the microphone, so he's already warmed up. We got to catch up to him. You might grab that guitar in the background,
You
play a
got it.
little guitar for us at some point.
Nice.
I am excited. And you guys should be too, because we're back on YouTube. That's right, youtube.com/at the ConTech Crew. If you haven't connected with us online, on LinkedIn, or connected with me on LinkedIn, you need to do that now. Plus, you're going to start to see our shorts on all the other social media. Are you trying to reach the innovators and decision makers in construction technology? Then look no further than sponsoring the ConTech Crew. That's right, we're taking new advertisers. Email us at advertising@thecontechcrew.com to learn more. All right, so this is awesome. I'm really excited because I love a good origin story when it comes to someone in the industry, but it's even better when it's a sort of a long arc story. So James, you're CRO of LiveSwitch right now.
That's right.
But how'd you get here? What's your story?
Never intended to be, right? You never know what you're gonna be when you grow up, right? And then we're still all trying to figure that out, I think. But rewind the clock over 2 decades, and, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? So my grandfather died young, or his dad died young, excuse me, and my grandfather had to drop out of high school and start work at a tire shop. Can you imagine being 16-year-old, having multiple siblings, and you've gotta drop out so you can feed your family? That's what he did.
Well,
Then my father's father died young, and he comes from nothing, and he had to build his own home. So what do these 2 guys in my life want me to be when I grow up? One wants me to be a painter, and the other one wants me to be a plumber. So I go with painting. So, graduate high school, get that, and go right into job force and gotta there's no money, so you've gotta go and make that happen. So learned how to paint homes from head to toe and do commercial work. Had multiple crews, did that for many years, and that also transitioned into a power washing company as well. And so I was running home service businesses and never intended to be in technology.
So fast forward, how do we get to technology? You had a partner in this process too.
I did. So first part was I didn't understand my numbers when it came to the finances. I'd go to the bookkeeper, they'd be speaking English to me, and I'm nodding, and I don't know what they're saying. I'm like, this, I need to do something about this, especially since it affects my wallet. So back then, state school is actually affordable. So I go back to state school and learn accounting and business so I can bring that to my businesses. So run the businesses while I'm trying to get educated. And right when I graduate from there, I meet a guy who's running landscaping companies and he's also doing financial. And he built this system that would take an income statement and balance sheet from your bookkeeper, run it through the technology, and it would tell you in plain language, layman's terms as a business owner, what it means. So the problem I had was a problem he built. He's like, well, you want to come and I'm pretty good on the business side and selling. So I was like, well, let's see if we can sell this thing. So we start from nothing. I mean, we're an incubator. We have nothing. And we grow that company, Inc. 500, 3 years running. We're one of the fast growing companies in the country. And now it's a multi-billion dollar company. So that worked out pretty well.
Where do I even begin? I mean, the first thing I wrote down here was this. I've talked about an arc from operational efficiency, just natural operational efficiency that you naturally have, to this like need for understanding financial record keeping and the whole like, oh yeah, that is kind of how the world works. But I think there are so many of us on the same path of like, you just naturally get the best way of doing it. But then you realize that, like, oh, but we still have to make that work within some sort of world order. And it's like you are a very, very natural
Yeah.
path
Yeah. You're
of
in
learning that.
construction and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you find out you also have to be a business owner. Or you're in a home service, it's like, oh crap, I gotta be a business owner too. You know,
uh,
you accidentally find yourself having to run a business too.
That's crazy, and many of them do struggle with that, and I think that I guess because there's 2 different sides of the coin. There is, Mike Rowe is, a huge promoter in the industry around the trades and that whole, when I learned more about dirty jobs, like, I'd watch the show, but I never heard him talk about, like, why those people on the show were so important and the money that they would make and kinda just like, "Oh, yeah, like, there is a strategy to this of, like, if you can figure out the things that people don't like to do and do them better than anyone else, you can make a lot of dough." It seems like you've really cracked I mean, was that intentional? Did you kinda stumble upon that? Like, how did that come about?
Born out of need, right? Like anything. You like anything worth that it's actually gonna last is born out of some pain that drives you crazy. Right? So, like and that worked out, and from there, when we sold that company, we got into philanthropy. We're like, "Hey, let's do philanthropy." So I start a nonprofit, he does as well. One of them's inmates to entrepreneurs. We're just helping folks that are incarcerated, learn business skills so when they come out, they're not getting back into nonsense. That worked out pretty well. It turned into an ABC television show called Free Enterprise. So that was pretty cool. But then we were like, "Hey, let's start another unapologetically for-profit business in technology, but instead of starting from the beginning, let's go and buy a company." So we bought a 12-year-old company at the time. We've been there 4 years, and we come in and we're learning a whole nother technology. But then I have a full circle moment all the way back around to home services and construction. And that's a whole nother.
Yeah, I'm gonna take you back.
Wow, yeah, I
Okay,
was like, yeah,
so
there's more story here. Like, yeah,
we're
let's go
we're going
back.
we're going back. How far are we going back? We're going back to that moment of okay, so he's now created a software that solves your problem. You believe in it so much, you take a set of skills that currently, if I haven't heard, that you hadn't really built other than the hustle, right? And getting out there and working and running a business, right? Those are important things that a lot of founders don't have. So, what was that switch like? Did you guys, kind of balance both for a while, or did you, burn the boats and sell the companies off and go? What was that transition like for you?
Burn the boats. Burn the boats. Had to burn that was a burn the boats moment where you kinda decide, "Is this where I'm going?" Like that fork in the road, right? So, a house divided can't stand, right? Those who chase too many rabbits catch none. Right? So it's hard to get focused. It really is, especially for entrepreneurs, especially for creators. Ooh, don't we like shiny new things? So maintaining focus is one of my hardest challenges, but also by burning the ships, having nothing to go back to, you're able to really progress. And thank God it went well,
Yeah, well
but it did.
what were some of those lessons you learned early on that were relatable to the time in painting and home services? And then what were the ones that blew your mind that really stretched you to think about new stuff?
Honestly, at the business side of it, the selling, right? The being able to go door to door, right? And when you're starting your home service or any company, getting those first customers, getting those first believers that will actually write you a check, pay you American money to build or fix or fill in the blank, that comes down. I mean, I remember writing all my stuff on the carbon copy. I'm sitting down, putting the bid down on carbon copy, 3 sheets. There's your pink, here's my white, and here's the yellow one for finance, right? And taking that, even in its, when you're using a fax machine, I'm definitely dating myself, but like when you're using that old technology, but the fundamentals are transferable. Knocking on somebody's door, whether you're calling, flyers, fill in the blank, going to the house, going to, commercial, bidding the work, making sure your bid is accurate winning the job, asking for the money, and then actually delivering and doing the work, all transferable, even to technology. It's just the fundamentals of business. Now, painting with a spray gun and, the latest technology for soft washing doesn't matter at all in my technology. So some of the stuff you just leave behind.
What were some of the newer challenges on this side, on the technology side early on that were different?
Well, I think we actually share it. It's tracking your business, right? We're all now they're everywhere. You got your Service Titans, your Blue Bleams, your Procores, your fill in the blank, right? Their Salesforce, your HubSpot. Every business under the sun, they go past their Excel spreadsheet and they decide, hey, I need to have the CRM. I need to have the leads. I need to watch the bids. Need to account for that. Because eventually, if I did want to sell the company, someone needs to see your work, right? So that I don't care what you're doing, whether in construction, home services, or in tech, you're doing that. And oh boy, that is not one of my favorite things to do. I try to make myself redundant in those areas as fast as possible. Anything administrative, financial, or CRM related, get me out of there, or legal, get me out of there as fast as possible. But I know I need them, and I know it's transferable.
Yeah, and you gotta know the fundamentals and the blocking and tackling, but yeah, having people who specialize in that you trust and can work with them. We're very similar that way. Nathan.
Well, yeah, let's take it to the industry a little bit because you mentioned Bluebeam, some others. So like takeoff, quantity takeoff is a huge thing. I feel like in this industry that software wants to automate and can go, oh, but we can do all these things that'll just tell you what it is. And I'm already seeing you shake your head, Jesus. Yeah, like why is that different than some of the other automations that you were talking about? Like, yeah, make that argument for why takeoff or what should it be?
Yeah, well, here's the problem with engineers. They over-engineer things, and they haven't I always make fun of them, like, "You guys all have soft hands. You never been spent a day on a ladder like me." You don't know what it is to have a mask on when you're spraying paint and you're living the day on the ladder and you're baking. Like, you gotta understand, like, your target market. If you're in construction, like, the guys that are gonna use your stuff, if you're an engineer, you haven't walked in their shoes, just like the guys on site haven't walked in the engineer's shoes. So, there has to be some kinda left hand talking to the right hand, but if that is absent, which is what I see a lot in technology, you have people who hate software because it wasn't biased for us.
Mhm.
Right? And we try, "Oh, we can automate this." "Oh, yeah, but I don't even know how to use your stuff. I don't even know how to log in."
Yeah, I love that. They come to the table right away. "We're gonna automate it." Like, "What's it?" I don't even know what it is. Like, is it 1 process? Is it 10 processes? Like, I don't know what they are. 10 processes? Who knows? Like, what are we talking about? It is I love that, they have soft hands, but I do appreciate that both sides don't understand each other, and you have to bridge the gap between the 2 of them to really create a product that's worthwhile. Because 'cause you've gotta understand the problems and be able to articulate them. It's funny, but the over engineering thing, the construction side does that too. We just had our episode with David Lincoln, who built a robot for solar installations. And their biggest problem with the robot is they want to make it available to everybody, but they built a Bentley. Like, because it was for them, right? And it was for their teams and their people. So, I mean, everything is to the tilt. And you can't mass produce that. So, but naturally, they go look for a partner that can say, okay, I'll value engineer that thing down and hopefully make it available to everybody. So, you got to value engineer things down. So, you go through the process. I love, by the way, I don't want to miss out on the fact that you guys went into philanthropy and took a little minute. That's a powerful piece for you guys to do. And I think connecting it to incarceration and people who are retrained, we have a failure in the education system. You kind of said this, like back when school was affordable. Yeah, that's when small businesses succeeded because we made it affordable for them to learn how to do the things that you were learning. We have a cyclical problem when it comes to incarceration because we don't rehabilitate and train, right? Because we don't know how to teach something that's actually doable. So I love that give back, and I didn't wanna just go past that. Is that still going on?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It turned into an ABC television show called Free Enterprise, and we have folks that work in our tech company now that went through the program. So we just believe in second chances, and, there is real reincarceration and people that just can't get out of the that cycle, but there are others that made young people decisions and, young people decisions are young people decisions, and you wish you had never done that, and a second chance is very much needed, warranted, and those some of those folks make the best business owners or, employees you've ever had because they know where they came from and they're really grateful and they'll
Yeah.
bust their tails.
Yeah, we've seen that in this industry a lot. A lot of the people out working in our fields finding their space and finding their rehabilitation have come through that process and joined us in the skilled trades and in the general contracting market because they've been able to learn it. So you now decide you're gonna go full circle. So LiveSwitch, tell us what the heck LiveSwitch is and how the heck you ended up full circle.
There's this weird thing that we struggle with called pride. And you think you can build $1 billion company, so of course you can do it twice, right? So we're trying to do it twice, and we're trying to play in the biggest spaces, but did not want to start from scratch again. So we looked at hundreds and hundreds of companies, and we knew we wanted to be in technology. We found a company out of Vancouver. It was a technology no one's probably ever heard of that's listening to this called WebRTC, Web Real Time Communication. We're one of like 4 companies in the world that do it, and it's all about video. Like, if you go to an MLB ballpark and scan a QR code and they put you on the jumbotron, our company did that. If you watch WWE wrestling when they had the Thunderdome and had screens all in during COVID, we did that. Like the NBA All-Star bubble. We just did the Super Bowl this year. Like, all kinds of stuff. We do stuff with NASA, Department of Defense, and how we came full circle back into construction as well as home services is the 911 phone call reinvention. I got the chance to reinvent our 911 emergency response call. Now that you have a smartphone in your pocket, that smartphone has multiple cameras that we want to target and tap into because a citizen who's been compromised has a hard time explaining what they're looking at. And you don't have time to stop and download an app at all. You need to be able to, in this case, I woke up at 3 in the morning with an idea and it was like, oh, we can just tap in through SMS texting and that can be the gateway in. So you call 911 and you get a point of redundancy. So 911 is on an ancient technology called telephony, which is why the worst feature of your phone is the phone. It's an
Mhm,
old a phone number is just archaic.
mhm.
It will go away at some point. I don't wanna get too in outer space with you guys, but I could
Whoa.
take you down nerdy routes. But that's your first point of connection with the 911. Next point of connection comes in with a text and you tap it, and now you're connected through your 5G, LTE, 3G, your internet connection. So now I've got a point of internet. So I've got your phone and your internet, and through the internet, that's where we're gonna tap into your cameras immediately, and now you can point that camera at the situation, and that live feed will go right to the police car. It's called situational awareness, next generation policing, and they can see what they're driving into. And the question was, well, who else could use this? Instant technology, instant connection, no app, see what I see. And here we come back full circle. The guy who lives on a ladder. It's like, huh, let me call some of these home service folks. And sure enough, I talked to a guy in the moving industry, of all industries, moving boxes. I think, Nathan, you just moved.
Mhm.
And now I meet this credible guy, super smart, tell him the same story I'm telling you now, Jeff. And he's like, dude, you're sitting on a pot of gold. What do you mean? And I should have known this. I didn't see this part. But I find that your customers or your potential customers or staff have the answer to the test if you're just listening. He said, James, the most expensive thing I do is put a guy in a truck. I pay hourly and I have him roll out there just in the hopes of closing the business. Now we're going to do this virtually. I'll just send a text and at least see it before I decide either A, I can win it virtually, or I drive out, or I decide where I'm not going. And then and that's just the selling side. And then he goes into operations and so forth. So this blossoms into an entire platform, and we're back full circle into construction and home services. And it just feels way more natural to me than even the emergency response stuff.
I mean, it's way too much to unpack there for me already, but the 911 and understanding, having a view into real time where you're going and accessing and having to do it at speed. That and no apps, it's got to be frictionless, right? The one thing we talk about in technology over and over is when does a technology take off? When it's frictionless, when it's the easier thing to do than the thing you were doing before. It's why Uber took over for taxi because taxi uses telephony and a whole bunch of really poor ways to try and tell you where I'm standing instead of drawing you to it and connecting and using far more powerful pieces of the phone. I really like the way that does it, but it also the two environments take a lot on, right? I don't want to ever, really truly compare our first responders, et cetera, to, construction, but these are volatile, these are unknown, they're the VUCA environments, right? That's why
Chad
we
Pearson would.
yeah, that's why
Yeah.
Chad will tell you they're
Mhm.
very similar to one another. Um, so we can know what we're getting into before we get into it. And but then you hit on a little something too, is a lot of technology and teams don't understand that the point you have to go almost to be really truly valuable. You have to transverse the process. It has to be from winning work to bidding that work out. So this, like you're talking about in the moving, winning the work is it even worth it? Right? Getting to know in our world should be a lot more okay, right? If you're a moving company or you're a construction company or you're a software company and you're not right for, this isn't the right client, saying no lets them move on and you as well, and prevents wasted time or bad fits. That's even worse. A great salesperson selling a software I don't need to me is almost worse. So, truly powerful to go through that process and amplify it in each step because you're deciding if it's the right work. You're helping win that work. You're helping make sure you bid and accurately address that work, and then now you're delivering on it. And at the handover, you have assets.
Yeah, you have the accountability piece, right? Because now we're adding an instant replay into your business. So that way your salespeople don't sell world peace because we don't build that, right? It sells pretty well. Hey, great job. You won the world peace contract, but we can't build that.
But when it comes to operations, like, I can't help but bring in the whole, big brother factor and concern of, because I can absolutely see the use case of, well, especially in painting, of, essentially putting your phone up there where it's like a body camera, kind of like, yeah, here's everything I got done. And anybody that comes in and scuffs that after the fact, wasn't my fault. Like, here's where it was. It's kind of like your CYA. But there are other trades where they're like, well, I don't want you knowing, hearing what I'm talking about or seeing what I'm doing, which goes back to another argument of like, well, why do you not want that to be seen? And something that we're going to have to fix as our industry in order to really take advantage of stuff like this. But yeah, are you encountering pushback in certain areas, or like, yeah, like,
Oh yeah,
where are you seeing
definitely,
the most, where are you
definitely
seeing the most
pushback.
pushback?
'Cause people, didn't sign up to be on camera until they wanted the instant replay. You don't want the instant replay until you need the instant replay when it means a touchdown,
Right.
or it means, like, you didn't break that window or you didn't, burst that pipe or salesperson, we don't even build that, like, you want that you don't want it until you want it. You know what I mean? You don't and then when you do want it and it says you took us one time, like, "Okay, I get it now." So there's a natural change to this, but if we can walk a mile in the person's shoes that has to use it, I wanna tell you why it's beneficial to you. I can tell you all the reasons why you might not like it in the big brother aspect, but, that's not what we're tell the project manager who didn't have to hop on an airplane for 8 hours and miss their son's basketball game or ball game, why that's
Yeah.
important,
No, that's a no-brainer.
right? Or the customer, "Crap, we're excavating and hit a pipe, and now I've gotta explain why my budget and timeline just got busted." I might wanna show that and video that. I want a video record. Or when I bury something, I don't remember where I buried it, or I put a wall up, like, well, I forgot what's behind it.
And these are use cases we've seen from some of the other solutions along the way. But you mentioned it, and I don't think we really covered on it enough that LiveSwitch is its own thing and you can have it. But it's also an engine that's running some really major platforms that have found they need this type of technology and innovation inside of their platforms. So you've got a dual play here, and I really like those because it just shows the versatility and that you can help amplify somebody else. So you have two different things here, and you mentioned that, like you did it with the NBA, you're doing it behind the scenes with the police. What were some of the others?
Oh, we've got, medical technology. Imagine, you're a good dermatologist, you wanna do a medical, virtual visit, but they need to take high quality photos of your skin. So you're gonna see it in you see it in medical, it's already there in live. You see it in stuff I can't talk about because we control different countries' communication. Um, so there's that going on. There's a little thing that happened not too long ago called Signal. Did we all hear about? I'm not getting political, I'm just saying, when I met with military folks, I already knew that was going on. That's the dirty secret. And there it is in prime time,
Mhm.
right? So secure communications, like everything we do, a nerdy talk is SOC 2 certified. It's encrypted. It's highly safe, right? So this is why we get connected. And then you're also connecting people point to point anywhere on the globe. We are going global, right? I talk to some of the larger construction companies, even mid-size now that have staff overseas that are doing some of the bidding, doing some of the project management work. And you're starting to lace in the thing that you don't see in all your platforms, which is live video. Live video is so hard, even some of the largest companies on the planet can't do it. There's only 4 or 5 companies that do even what we do, and we're one of them. And we power things that you use every day and you wouldn't know we're the engine. We are the engine. But we're bringing that power under the hood of your CRMs or right to your team to do practical things.
Yeah, this is what's cool. This is why
Man,
it's cool for me because you're not only
inspections.
speaking
Ah,
to the construction technologists and my BIM and VDC folks that are listening in on ways that you can amplify what you're doing, especially because it's so accessible to the smaller market too, right? 5 people in a truck, they need more real, easy, frictionless software to protect themselves than say the ENR top 20 really need. They've got a million of them and they've got time to spend money on these things. The others do not. So you can go direct to them, or it can be powering some of the big engines. But I was just thinking about it as you said it, like the amount of, from my last few jobs, the amount of angst created by miscommunication is incredible. And one of those things is like certain people can't visualize certain things. So I can think of this from my days at the masonry. Like there's marble quarries all over the place, and you send people once in a while to go and tour it and see it. But when you're talking to a homeowner and you're out there and you wanna just dive into that slab you have real quick. So, yeah, there's some of that technology going on right now, but you can see it, and then we can all talk about it real quick, or you're talking about using some new fixtures and things, and you can video, you can see it. You can't really touch it, but you can see it, and you can memorialize it so they can go back and look at it in the end.
Yeah, you need to be thinking about the customer experience, right? When someone's coming and spending money with you, whether it's corporate or, individual, when they're laying out the kind of cash we ask for, in construction, they have an expectation of progress and build, which can be done live with video or even recorded video. They wanna see, they don't wanna read. We don't wanna read anymore. We wanna see it, and it's powerful because they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth 10,000 pictures, right? So being able to layer this in is going to open up things you've never thought of before, which is really cool because it reminds me back in the day, everything I like to use in my construction home service businesses are all one touch, easy to use. I don't need an instruction manual. I loved my CB radio. Why? I just hit the daggone side of it and I talked to my crew. I loved the Nextel walkie-talkie. Hit the side of it, talk to my crew. Right? Then I went my cell phone and we talked on the phone. Right? I answered a cell phone call. I just swipe. Right? Back in the day, you just picked it up off the 9 keys and it was corded. Anything that's worth my truck now. I just hit a button to start it. Right? And the way we build our technology is just that way. One, I can you don't even need help to learn this. If you can send a text, you can use our stuff. If you can tap a text, you literally could open it up by touching it with one finger and you're good. So that's how we design it. I don't want large change management. I don't want to put my team through months and months of a trainer. Like that is just my guys hate that.
It's before you go, Nathan, I will attest. So I get to see a lot of this stuff. So James did that to me in a waiting room while I was waiting for something else, and it was one touch and it works that easy. And I totally called BS until he did it. And I was like, okay, you're not wrong.
Well,
All right, I like it.
but maybe a final question here because you got certainly ease of use on one side, which is always not my favorite category, but then you got the technical capabilities on the other. So I'm thinking with this, AR kit and this dual camera thing, are you guys doing measurements off of the video also? Like how detailed can we get here?
There's a tension. There's a tension between apps and browser. Okay. When you build out of an app, you get more functionality from the phone and they slowly transition it to the browser. Once I put an app in between employees or customers, I lose my audience. because nobody wants to stop and download the app, can't remember the like, forget, we're done. We're just a non-starter. It's a non-starter. So because of that, there's certain parts of the phone I can't access yet. Although I have a bunch of computer scientists on staff, ways around that. So we're working on measurement tools, translation tools, AI, you can connect the dots, but
Crazy.
I'm a crawl, walk, run. Right now, I just need to get the guys to tap a text so they can see what I see. And we gotta onboard the industry because this is not something that people do every single day.
Well,
So you gotta
yeah.
bring people along that in the right way through change management and ease of use. It's quite the tension that we're wrestling with.
Yeah, but you're prioritizing ease of use over advancing capabilities as you should. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that strategy, especially in this industry.
Yeah, well, especially in the market that you're after because it's what they need, right? They aren't going to all those other things because if they could, they would. But they need the resources and the change management and the power to do a lot of that. And so this gives them an opportunity to get started. Another interesting thing that I was just thinking of is like, I remember all the way back in the day when we started seeing the talk to text apps like Note Vault and others, because what we figured out was if I had to fill out the form digitally, I would continually shorten what I was going to say and shorten it and shorten it and shorten it till the point where it was almost useless. And you say that, your analogy with the picture and the words, how powerful is having the live video with the words? You get the explanation and you get it in its entirety because they're speaking. And when we speak, we are much more verbose. We're much better at explaining what goes on because if we have to text it, we're going to keep cutting it down to less and less. So you're driving valuable situational information along with video evidence. How are the small companies like how does a small company go about this and use it for their business?
So if you're a small company, you literally can get started in a couple minutes. Again, I wanna be your your modern day CB radio or modern day Nextel walkie-talkie, right? You see what I see. So I can teach the super or the contractor or the owner how to use this in less than 5 minutes, and once you do it one time, you get it. You're like, "Oh, I got this." Like, it's just like the first time you did your Nextel walkie, "Oh, I got this." Like if Nathan's standing on site and I'm sitting back in the office and Nate texts me, "You need to see this." I just fire him over a text and boom, he can show me and it's tuned up for third-party remote assistance. This ain't a FaceTime call because that's good for watching the kids pull out a camera or watching the kids pull out the candles. But when you want to see a job site, you use the right tools for the right job. So we've tuned it up for when Nate is on site and I'm a project manager or the owner sitting back in my office. It's tuned up for him and it's tuned up for me. And so they can start using it by just use I want to see what my team sees, or I want my prospect to show me the job that I want to bid on. Right. So we're going to pick a couple places in your process, your sales process, your operational process, and your before and after process as well. And if we're getting real fancy, we can start using QR codes on site where people can scan it, and that's easy to do. Like we use the power of scanning QR codes to like capture video when there's nobody on the other end. So there's other pieces that we layer in, but we start off with the text to connect. That's so easy to learn and done in a couple minutes.
And I can see this being used by other technologies along the way too to consume that, right? Because
Yeah.
we keep saying data, 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 right? And you're creating super valuable data that provides a current return, but a longer term return when it comes to analyzing, say, safety incidents. It's really hard if you're just showed up on a job site and you're, the just a laborer for a company and you don't have the app yet. You don't know what to do. And if you take out your phone and you video it and then, you got a million other things to do. But if there's QR codes everywhere that say, if something happens, scan this. You scan it, you record it, it's off there now, and then that could be analyzed later. We can analyze all of this down the road using computer vision and other tools to learn things about our job sites that we didn't know.
And nothing is stored on device. That's a liability.
Yes,
Right? Because
Yeah,
now
right.
we're all
absolutely.
taking pictures and videos and it's storing our things, but sometimes people drop their phone, lose their phone, forget their password. That is a big time liability. So
Yeah.
nothing is stored on device. It all goes direct record to the cloud, direct photos to the cloud, all safe and secure, especially if you have retention issues or new people coming a year later. Like this all kind of stacks on itself. Again, it's just it's designed by people who build stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you're not buying everybody a phone. Like, listen, we're not in the business of doing that in construction. We can't do that for everybody. But just about everybody, I mean, like 99% are carrying this little smartphone in their pockets these days in some way, shape, or form. And that's also the browser piece is you don't care what the device is running.
No hardware to issue, no software to issue, none of that. We keep ripping things out of the equation
Right.
because we do deal with the smallest of companies to use this, as well as the large ones. I mean, I don't care what size you are, like, deploying anything makes
Mhm.
me wanna take a nap.
Right. Well, and back to the big guys. I mean, I know all their questions going to be around the APIs and that whole world. Like, what is your strat? Because I could certainly see, yeah, both examples where your links are coming into certain workflows in operations or CRM, and all, but also data that you're capturing that other platforms would want to take from you. See, yeah, I could see it going both ways. Yeah, what have you done, or
Yep.
what's the plan?
So everything we have is an open API. It
Cool.
means you can plug it in anywhere. Additionally, we've added different modes that are already out there, like Zapier. You can
Yep.
just zap and transfer data already done. We're
Nice.
already under the hood of a number of CRMs like a Service Titan, Jobber, SimPro, Job Nimbus. We're already there.
Cool.
So because those companies don't want to get into live video, just like I don't want to create a CRM, right? And then we even have it to where we've put it as an extension in your Chrome browser. So if you're on a small no name CRM that you and a few friends, maybe even homegrown, or even you're on an Excel spreadsheet, we can read the Excel spreadsheet for a phone number. You tap the little button and go. So we've really tried to think about, that level of integration, but we do have API documentation. So if you want to fully bolt this under the hood of your homegrown whatever, you can do it. And there's no extra fee for that. We're happy to allow you to bolt right into our open API.
That's awesome.
Man, I'm gonna finish that with the fact that you mentioned Service Titan in there and the fact that we have a circular economy. And I don't think enough of our trades really understand how powerful if they could use something like this up front and then consume it in the service, how much of a strategic advantage they've have over their competition, but also how much more effective they could be if they could go back to that reality in time of what it was and say, yeah, we know you already have this, we have that. We've analyzed it. We'll be out. We'll send the right crew. We'll have the right parts with us. We know already what we're getting into. And man, not enough service
Well,
companies do
well,
this.
and that owners put value on that asset as a handover, because that is where we're really struggling. Is like, oh, we can do this stuff, but the owner's like, yeah, but we don't have anyone in facilities that would know what to do with it. And again, maybe James is where you can help ease that because they are the folks that aren't going to want to use the stuff. But if you can make it easy for them, then they see the value in it.
That's right. And everything can be tagged. You have an archive now of everything. You get the same question asked every time on a certain site. Well, just take a video of it. And now you can just share that link and tag it.
Mhm.
How to get through the gates. Here you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Every time my team comes out, they forget that they got to go to the West Gate. And here's what the West Gate looks like. Go through that entrance, go here. And we've seen a lot of this is what's cool to me is we've seen a lot of pioneers ahead of you with a lot of heavier equipment doing this. And you're just using the most powerful little piece in our pockets. So I love it.
Big-
Any final thoughts, James? And I know, and I, this is why I was excited to get you on. Is like, there's got to be a lot of construction software companies out there right now, thinking, man, I don't want to build that. I want to
No.
build this. So that's what's cool to me as well is you've hit a whole nother group of my audience to say, hey, if you were thinking about building that, maybe don't think about that.
Yeah, the largest companies in the world we power. I can't tell you their names because I've got NDAs, but go ahead and look up the top tech companies with billion-dollar market caps. They've waved the white flag and they come to us. This is what we're good at. We want to be, and we are, the live and recorded video company. If you bless your heart if you want to go and do that, but you're going to spend a lot of money and bang your head against the wall. This is one of the hardest things on the planet to do, which is why there's only a couple companies that do this. And so, just save yourself the headache. I mean, that's why we're just getting under the hood of any CRM and people aren't trying to build this themselves. And that's why you haven't seen it until now because the folks that have tried, and I know they have because they've told me, have burned. All right, this is too hard.
And that's the power of an integrated solution, Nathan. That's why I thought a CDX was a great one to come on because you could build it, but maybe just consume it. And it's as a service, man.
And this is classic innovator's dilemma. I mean, this is got Clay Christensen written all over it of yeah, like you've got to wait for the technology to be there with the people, but once it is, then you step on the accelerator and off you go. So yeah, looks like we're coming to that hockey stick moment. That's awesome.
Well, let people know where they go find out more, James. We got to wrap this one up.
No problem. You can find me in 2 spots. One, go to LiveSwitch, LiveSwitch.com, click on demo, and then ask for me. Say, I listened to you on a podcast. You'll come right to me. I take care of anyone listening here that wants to talk to me. I'm making myself available. Second, LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, look up James Hatfield, connect with me, message me. Happy to discuss anything with you. I'm easy to find and look forward to connecting to anyone listening to the show today.
Well, we are excited. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. It's been awesome. Nathan, thank you for sitting down with me as well. I knew you'd be geeking out as much as I would.
This
on
was
one.
fun. I have many notes. I didn't even get to all my notes, so we'll have to do another one.
And thank you for tuning in today to geek out for our interview with James Hatfield. To read all our news stories, learn more about our guests, and to listen to this show, visit thecontechcrew.com. This is the ConTech Crew signing out. Until next time, enjoy the ride and geek out.